quickly introduce you.
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right.
Should I
So
go and come on?
what do you say?
Hello? Should I go off screen and come back on?
No. You can be here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can be here. So to my audience, thank you for coming on board. It's really a very rare privilege to have on board Professor Kathy, and we are so privileged to be interviewing you today. It's a privilege, I must say, and because you really impacted my experience in terms of research on play and in related to early childhood education. So let me quickly give you a breakdown of your biography so that my audience can even have a little glimpse of all that you've done so far. Professor
Well, only
Kurtz,
one thing you have to make sure you do the important stuff.
okay.
What's really important is that I'm a mother of 3 and a
Wow,
grandmother of 2.
wow, amazing. Good to have you.
That's the only thing that's important. So,
Good to have you. So Professor Kathy is a renowned professor of psychology at Temple University and also a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, recognized as a scientific entrepreneur by the American Psychological Association. He has authored 17 books and over 250 publications. Indeed, I saw one of your publications too this morning. I was alerted through Google Scholar. So it's amazing.
yeah.
So our influential work spans developmental psychology, education, and child development, earning a leadership roles in organizations like the International Congress for Infant Studies and 0 to 3. Our book, Einstein Never Used Flashcards and Becoming Brilliant, gained widespread recognition, with the latter reaching the New York Times bestsellers list. Our latest book, Making Schools Work, co-written with educators and scientists, has inspired national education reforms. Pasek has received numerous awards
Mm.
numerous awards
And what
for our
execution?
contributions to psychology and education. Hello?
Go ahead, please.
All right. Our projects such as playful learning landscapes and active playful learning integrate science into public spaces and classrooms to enhance learning experiences. Elected to the National Academy of Education in 2021, she is also a fluent media commentator and blogger for Brookings Institution. You are most welcome, Professor.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for being with us. So I have a whole lot of questions for you. And
Sure.
then I will start by asking a very, maybe not simple question. I'll ask by saying, what do you think play is? What do you think play is? What is
What do
play?
I think?
Play is.
Oh, what is play? Oh, you're asking the easy one first. Well, let me start with something that no one will believe. Play is the way human brains work.
Hmm.
When we do something, we're active and engaged, not distracted. When it's meaningful to us, when we're socially interactive, and when it's joyful, we actually learn more. So play really is something where we go and we have our imagination. We may act out things. There's dramatic play, there's motor play, object play, lots of different kinds of play. And in all of them, we are actually learning
Hmm.
because the characteristics of play are precisely the characteristics of how human brains learn.
That's indeed
Grace.
that's indeed an insight because I can see that That's very precise and also mind blowing. That if I mean the human mind works when we play, and that's indeed a very insightful statement to have made. Thank you so much for that insight.
Sure.
All right, so I would also want to ask that what do you think inspire children to want to play really? Because yes, with the fact that the human mind learn better while playing because that's the model at which our mind is modeled. Yes, we want to play, and because we believe that uh, we are not just playing, we are learning,
Mhm.
even if it is passively or actively. But then, so what do you think that what do you think inspires us to want to play?
Well, if you look at all the species that you could probably name, whether it's monkeys or dogs or your cat outside, believe it or not, they all play. Even dolphins play. Even, octopuses play.
Hmm.
So when you look at the species around us, what is it that makes play happen? It seems to be a quite natural experience. People are curious. Human minds are curious. We like to find the unexpected and the unexplored. And play is one of the ways which we learn about our environment. It's one of the ways we go out and test things. We satisfy our curiosity. We reduce uncertainty. And it's a way that motivates us. Even in countries where they have had wars, what's the first thing we notice is the children go out, even in areas that have been damaged, and they start playing. So, why is that? Because it feels safe. It doesn't have any, in many ways, you're not being judged when you're playing. You don't do a
Yes,
right or a wrong,
yes,
which is
yes.
really, really good. And it helps us satisfy our curiosity.
Indeed, that's mind blowing. That's mind
Mm.
blowing. And in fact, I think it's amazing that you made mention that places where even we have wars, conflicts, that when children are allowed to go out, the first thing they want to do is play because that's how the mind is modeled. Then we want to just express our identity even by playing.
Right.
And
And even
that
be with others. Yeah.
hmm, Uh, thank you for that insightful statement. All right, so I would also want to ask that. Okay, so because we love to because human mind is molded in terms of wanting to play, and not just wanting to play, they believe that that's the way we learn. Can you explain or can you tell us some of the misconceptions that
Oh,
people have
yes.
in terms of allowing children to play?
For many years, and I think even to the present, people have pitted play against work. They
Mm,
don't see that those characteristics of play are the same that go into those characteristics of learning or even the characteristics of work. When you enjoy your job, you do better at it.
mm,
When you're having fun when you go to work, I bet you have fun running this webinar and you're doing work, but you're kind of playing at the same time. So I think what we have to do is get a different mindset about what play is. Now, having said that, there are different kinds of play. I'm a real fan of free play. When you build forts in the living room or out of the leaves or out of the wood structures outside your house. Um, but I'm also a real fan of what I call playful learning, active playful learning. And in active playful learning, an adult can help to initiate an experience, but children are the guides and the explorers in that experience. And in that way, we can even have a school that it's an active, playful learning school. So I think when we begin to realize that we could do whatever it is we need to do in a way that's more fun and engaging, that's active, that, is with other people. Once we realize that, then we start to realize that our misconception about play versus work is really not a good one to hold. What we might want to do is instead say it's play and work, and they go together.
Hmm. That's very, very nice to hear you say that. That play and work can actually go hand in hand, and then it's a form of expressing enjoyment at work. As at that, I mean, when we engage in play at work.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much for that. So talking about how 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 adults should engage or should help start up play
Question.
for children.
Well,
It,
let me ask, let me start by asking you a question.
it,
All right, not trying to put you on the spot here, but
okay.
when's the last time you skipped?
Uh,
Okay, I'm not going to go any further than that. All right. But the very fact that we don't skip anymore, and did you notice you smiled even thinking about it?
yes,
Isn't
sure.
that cool?
Yes, that
When's
very
the last
true.
time we threw a ball?
Mm,
When's the
mm,
last time we splashed?
mm, mm,
Okay, these are very simple, but they make us feel good.
mm,
And I asked that question once. I literally put it on a chalkboard.
mm,
I left the chalkboard and it said, when I was little, I played. And then it had underneath, I played, and then another line, I played, and another line, I played, and it left blanks, and I just left some chalk.
wow.
Well, what do you think happened? In the middle of a city, I watched as people walked up to my chalkboard
Mm,
and they started to fill it in.
mm,
And to all these people who you would not have expected, you look at them and you say, did you ever play in your life? They
mm,
went up to that chalkboard. They waited in line
wow.
because they were excited to just add a memory they had about when they played. So maybe, just maybe, part of engagement for adults is to let ourselves remember what it was like
Mm,
and to say, look, nobody's asking you to sit down on the floor for 3 hours a day with
mm,
your child. But what we are asking you to do is to remember those moments and when you're walking down the street to the market,
mm,
maybe you skip.
mm,
Maybe you hold your kid's hand and
mm,
say, oh, I wonder who can have, who can get there faster. Let's each take 7 steps and see where we go. They're little things. They don't hold you up and they
mm,
make it a little bit brighter.
mm.
When a child's acting out in the kitchen, give her a pot, give
Mm.
her a wooden spoon. You know, when
Yes,
you have to get the laundry done, let the child help you sort it into the dark clothes and the light clothes. I mean, all that can be done, and it makes everything more fun, and it makes the parents happier because then they don't have to say, no, don't get into the laundry. I'm cooking, right? Now,
yeah, sure.
everybody, and it doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. Let me be really clear about that. A lot of people say, oh, you just think the whole world is about play. I don't, but I think we can do better. And
Mm,
I think if we do better, we're going to be happier as parents, happier as teachers, and boy, are we going to be happier as kids.
mm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And I think I can even refute what you just said that I think I've been seeing few research now that people are now trying to delve into how adults play. I've been seeing research like that. And I think it's very, very important that we reintroduce play. Even as adults, I think we need
Yes.
more of play to reconnect us to that way we enjoy life and not just forgetting maybe our sorrow, the way we used to use it in Nigerian parlance here, but then to engage in what makes us lively and want to enjoy life. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you
And
so much
gosh,
for that.
it's difficult enough, right? So
Mm,
imagine if every day you scheduled a little bit of recess into your life.
mm,
Don't you think you'd be healthier?
indeed, indeed. Mm. Thank you so much for that. So, and some of the things I've also been exploring is the way we deprive young children uh, access to play. And
Yeah.
then one of the things I do with my initiative is to try to tell people, don't let me use educators because parents are also involved. We don't deprive uh, children access to play. We don't
Right,
want to sacrifice. I mean,
right.
maybe they've done something wrong. We don't sacrifice their time to play. I mean, in swap of,
Mm-hmm,
for that. So it
hmm
is very, very important that we let them play because it's
hmm
their time. It's their time. To enjoy life and to connect the experiences which they've had with the future possibility of them excelling, even in learning as they engage
Yes,
in play. Thank you so much for that.
exactly. Exactly. And look, I would say that it's not just about kids should enjoy life.
Mm,
I think we as adults need to enjoy life too.
mm,
It can be hard out there sometimes,
very
and
true.
it's okay if we have a little fun. It really is okay.
Mm, thank you so much. So I would like to ask that is there a science really behind the adoption of play in early years? Is there a science? Can we connect the dots of in terms of connecting with holistic development of children at that basic level of trying to learn and also
Yes.
adjust to life?
Yes. There's a lot of science now. There has been for years a lot of science on free play and how important it is for young children, actually for all children. More recently, there's a lot of work on what I told you about as guided play, that kind of purposeful play, intentional play, in which an adult may just kind of sneak in a teachable moment. And the research is quite strong.
Mm,
In fact, one group out of Cambridge University in 2022 reviewed all of that research in what they call a meta-analysis, which is kind of a big analysis of all the different studies, and found that in almost every area, math, in reading, social interactions, you find that when kids are engaged in what we call guided play or active playful learning, then the results come out as better.
mm,
We in classrooms where we've been studying what it looks like if teachers use this as an approach with students.
mm.
And we have a lot of material that we are happy to share with anyone in your country,
Okay.
um, to say that, yeah, we can help teachers have a more engaging and active classroom
Mm,
where the teacher finds it more joyful and where the kids learn a little bit better.
mm,
And so there's lots of science. This is an evidence-based approach, but
mm,
also mix that with the fact that it's a practical approach.
mm. Oh, wow, amazing, amazing to really hear it from you specifically because I read one of your papers that you did with some medical individuals that
Mhm.
talks about free play. And
Yeah.
I got worked up because I love the paper. I read
Mhm.
it quite a number of times, and I found out that your research actually discovered that children may actually experience psychological issues when they
Yeah,
deprive them of free play,
that is
and
correct.
it's
Yeah.
and it's indeed a very interesting paper that I like to check over and over again, and uh, and afterwards, I begin to discover that there are lots of arguments.
Mhm.
There are lots of arguments about the level at which uh, adults guide children in play. There's a level at which they should limit their involvement, their
Mhm.
engagement, their interference with
Mhm. Mhm.
learners' play. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Well, I do. What we have found, and this is well studied, is that when a child initiates, learning, but through play or is playing, and the adult comes over and takes over, I call it co-opted play. Some people call it helicopter parenting. The child actually gets very disinterested in what they were doing. They
mm,
leave, and then the adult's stuck there doing it by herself. So it's very important that the child be the leader. Now, what do I mean by the leader? In guided play, adults are the ones who set up the environment within which children will explore. But once you leave it to the child, you're the coach, not the director. And
mm,
as a
mm,
coach, not a director, you let the child have what we call agency, the ability to feel good about themselves. And when they feel good about themselves, then they take that agency outside of play and into the rest of the world. So I think it becomes, as one of your attendees just wrote, it really is lifelong. And it really does set up the brain for learning.
mm,
And remember, we're not just interested in what you can do in your first grade of formal school or your
mm,
fifth grade of formal school. It's
mm,
important. But what's really important today is going beyond just memorization and being able to learn how to be a better human, to
mm,
get along with other people, to
mm,
communicate effectively,
mm,
to learn your content, but to know critical thinking and creative innovation, and to have the confidence to stick with it, even if it's a little bit hard. And
mm,
I call those the 6 C's: collaboration, communication, content, critical thinking, creative innovation, and the confidence to stick with it, to have the grit. Those 6 C's are really what all the business leaders are saying they want for people
mm,
who are trained to work in their jobs of the future.
mm,
So if we don't train our kids that way, how are they ever going to be prepared?
mm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that insight, really. And I think I got swayed by by the 60s, actually. Thank you so much for that. So I also want to ask that. I want you to give us an insight into, because now that, I mean, there is an inversion, really. Let me call it that way. That that uh, that technology
Mm-hmm.
is intervening in the way we allow children to play. And then
Mm-hmm.
we come to talk about digital play, because I believe, really, I also believe that that's the future of play. And so I would love to hear your view on that, really, because
Yeah, for
I mean
sure.
the the spread of play. I mean, the spread of digital gadgets now is spreading all over the world, and we will not deny the fact that children now enjoy to be on their own with their gadgets, play, listen, and
Yeah.
also do all sorts of things while using the gadgets. So, what do you think is the future of digital play in terms
Yeah.
of?
Well, the the digital world is here to stay, and um, I think these advancements are important and exciting. And there's much we don't know about, like the future of the metaverse or the future of AI. But what we do know is that humans are important to humans. All right.
Mm,
There's a lot of folks who have reviewed the literature to say that they don't think that children under 2 should really be stuck on gadgets because they need human to human interaction to build a better brain. Yet, we know from a recent study that just came out in the United States that 40% of children under 2, 40% of children under 2 in the United States already own a tablet.
wow.
That's And we know that children spend a lot of time on the many, many, many available apps. We also know that it's very hard to tell what's a really good app. So there are those of us working on how to help parents sift through the masses here because there's so much. Like, how's a parent supposed to know of the 500,000 apps that are out there? Which apps are the better apps and which are the worst? So, what do you look for? Well, one is you look for certain characteristics. And I've gone over these characteristics before, but let's do them again. Does it allow for active minds on learning? Is it engaging or is the app very distracting? Does
mm,
it connect meaningfully with something in the child's life?
mm,
Is it something where it requires you to work with someone else to have that social interaction? Is it iterative and that each time you come back to it, there's a little something new that surprises you that you can do with it? And is it something that at the end of the day is joyful or
mm.
does it look like work? All right. So that's a little bit of a way to go about it. If it is all that and it has like a clear learning goal, it probably is a reasonable educational app. Now the question is, well, what do I do with that? Okay.
Mm,
Kids can't just stay on social media. It's not good for them. The most important thing we can do is human to human interaction. That's what matters most. So I would say every family has to figure out how to balance the child's desire to
mm,
always be on the medium and what's really healthy for kids in the human to human. And one way to go about that too is when your child, a young child in particular, is on an app, then be on it with them, you know,
mm,
do that
mm,
joint co-parenting or co-representation with an app. People have studied that. When you work with your child on the app, then the kid has better outcomes. So I would say we're all going to have to find that line. But I'm going to give you an analogy to think about. Do kids like digital media? They love it. They love it in the same way that you love Candy Crush. They're enamored. They stay on it. All right. But you know, kids love dessert too. They love
mm.
chocolate cake and they love chocolate pudding, right? And
Yes.
they love chocolate cookies. And so, one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves is whether just because they like it, we would let our kids eat chocolate cake for dinner.
Mm,
And I suspect most of us would say, no, our kid can't possibly have chocolate cake for dinner. And so we have to say the same thing about apps. Maybe not, you know, maybe they shouldn't have this much time on apps.